For my final project for the Software Carpentry Instructors course, I am going to be doing a little bit of the introductory Python lesson about analyzing patient data. And so specifically we're going to try and work through the loading data section of that lesson. So to start that off, I'm going to load up the IPython notebook, if I can ever spell it correctly. We'll wait a second for that to load up. I'll pull over the notebook interface, and we're going to create a new notebook. We can give it a name if we would like, Python lesson, and then go ahead and get going. So in order to manipulate data in Python, a very useful library is called NumPy. And we can give ourselves access to all of the functionality of that library by using an import statement. And then in the IPython notebook, you tell the notebook to execute your command by holding down Shift and pressing Enter. Now, one of the things we can use this library for is to import data from some kind of a text file. So I can tell Python that I want to use the load text function from NumPy by specifying the library NumPy followed by a dot and then the function from that library that I want to use. And this function requires me to tell it what the name of the file I want to use or import is. And for a CSV file, I also need to tell it what the delimiter is. So I need to tell it that it's separated by commas. So here we go. NumPy has loaded all the data from this CSV file, and it has printed it out in our IPython notebook as an array of different numbers. Now, right now we haven't saved this data in a variable in order to manipulate it at all. So we just printed it out, and that's about all we can do with it at this point. But it would be useful in order to perform further manipulations to store this data as a variable. To store data as a variable in Python, you just need to type in the variable name, so for instance weights kilogram, followed by an equal sign, and then the data that you want to store in that variable. So by typing weight kilogram equals 55, I have stored the number 55 in the variable weight kilogram. And now if I want to see what's in that variable, one way of doing it is just printing it out. And so we can see here that 55 is in fact stored in weight kilogram. It's useful to have data stored in variables because you can manipulate the data. So for instance, if I want to print out what that weight converts to in pounds, I can multiply weight kilogram by 2.2, which you accomplish just by using the asterisk in Python. So now it prints out that 55 converted to pounds is 121, plus some small rounding error from floating point calculations. I might even want to store this new value in a different variable, which I could call weight pound. And I'll just specify that by saying I want to store 2.2 times the value in weight kilograms in weight pound. And now if I print weight pound, it'll give me 121. Now, one thing to be careful about is that Python is not going to remember this relationship between weight pounds and weight kilogram. So if I update the value of weight kilogram and make it 110, now if I print weight kilogram, it will have the new value of 110. But if I print the value of weight pound, it still has the old value of 121 instead of what you might expect it to have, which would be 242. So this is an important difference between spreadsheets and Python. Now, if we want to now store the information from the text file, the CSV file, we can store that in a variable called data, and then we can print data just to make sure that we've stored it. And now we have data stored in a Python variable that we can use for manipulation and analysis later on.